Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win, or you find a way to lose. Conor Benn, man, he had to relinquish his boxing license today. As the British, it's real messed up situation. But the British Board of Boxing, they weren't trying to hear it, and he had to give it up. And I don't think many people are buying his story about his urine samples being contaminated. And the British Boxing Board of Control, they had their hearing on Friday, and it is what it is at this point. They're saying that they're just kind of labeling it as misconduct. But Ben is still, proclaiming his innocence. His dad talks a lot about how Ben was crying, Conor was crying, saying, he would never cheat. Eubank Sr. has got on the record. Eubank Sr. has even gotten emotional over Conor Benn, saying he just doesn't believe the young man would cheat. He's a good human being. He's a fighting man. But this is the thing, right? All the stuff that happened after, Sports Mail, Daily Mail, all these different outlets, after they revealed that trace amounts of the fertility drug was in his system, the drug was clomiphene. It's everyone now, they don't know what to think about him, because at the end of the day, there's no application for this drug clomiphene, and it elevates testosterone levels in men. I said this another way, 50% to 200%. And that's why he canceled that fight with Eubank Jr. on the 8th of October. But when you're looking at this right now, Ben, he has legal representation, he has the doctors involved, but nobody's really been able to help him, because they upheld their decision. And again, they're kind of quoting his whole situation as just misconduct. But Conor Benn's focus is on clearing his name. But I'm going to tell you something right now. I don't think he's going to be able to clear his name as long as Eddie Hearn is still running his mouth. Eddie Hearn is hurting Conor Benn. He should just be quiet and not say anything. It's frustrating, because what Eddie Hearn is doing is he keeps saying he believes he's innocent, but he doesn't really want to address or answer the question when they're like, well, how do you think you got in the system? Eddie Hearn doesn't. He immediately goes off a tangent on something else. He won't really address that, except that Conor Benn will give make a statement in the next couple of days, etc., etc. But Eddie Hearn's good at talking, but he shouldn't say anything about Conor Benn, because for some reason Eddie Hearn keeps trying to put the spin on it, like Conor Benn is the victim, and Conor Benn was at the disadvantage going into the fight with Eubank Jr. And when they're asking these questions about the PED use, nobody wants to hear him talk about how the catch rate of 157 and how hard it was for Conor Benn to come up to 157. And in his opinion, Conor Benn was the one who was in danger, not Eubank Jr. coming down to 157. And how Conor Benn would have been in so much danger with a man on fight night who could have been weighing 170 pounds. All of that, hold your horses, don't take it to the stupid, Eddie Hearn. And the people who are interviewing him, they can see through the crap. You know what I mean? Like Eddie Hearn, he's talked so much, he's contradicted himself so much, that the people interviewing him, it's like the stuff he says is in one ear and out the other. They don't want to hear any more of Eddie Hearn's crap. But this is the thing, right? Something else came out, and this is what Eddie Hearn needs to stop talking. because I don't know if Conor Benn cheated or not, right? Nobody knows. We know what the test says, okay? I mean, the urine samples, okay, they came back positive, all right? So it's not that anybody's making something up. There was something in that urine. Could it have been contaminated? Things can happen. I did a video where I talked about it. I had a friend. I'm not gonna get all into it again. You guys can go watch the video. But what I'll say is, she had a urinalysis test, and it came back positive for cocaine. And after she hired a lawyer, all this stuff happened. Come to find out, her sample was contaminated. So it could happen. And what ended up happening to her in her situation, where, because when you do a urinalysis, man, you know, male or female, you pee in that bottle right in front of somebody, like it's very intrusive. You know what I'm saying? Like you're just there, you know, free balling, swinging and shit, and these people are just right there looking at you. Some of them weirdos get a kick out of that shit. But anyway, she peed in the bottle, put the cap on right in front of them. Then she washed her hands. They put the tape over it. When they took it back to the laboratory, or wherever the hell they take that piss, something happened, and the jackass is there, peeled it. They must have somehow cracking up. Something happened that they did, their own negligence. So they took it and poured the sample into another bottle. Had to open it, unseal it, and pour it into another bottle. Somehow some shit got mixed up, and it was contaminated. But they had someone else's sample. So when they started unearthing the details of what transpired in her situation, that whole shit fell apart. And she still decided to continue with her career and everything. But I just thought it would have been hard for me, man, after going through something like that, because you lose trust in the system, you know? And they really raked her across the coals. So with Conor Benn, I do these videos on it. I don't believe in breaking champions down, but, you know, I worry about you. I was concerned about Eubank Jr. And when it comes to Conor Benn, you know, maybe he knows that he's innocent. And that's why he was okay with going forward with the fight, because he knows I didn't cheat. There had to be something that went wrong. Okay? And if that's the case, then respect to Conor Benn for having the integrity and not trying to gain an advantage going into the fight with Eubank Jr. But you still have to say, foul shame on you, Eddie Hearn, and everyone else involved who didn't have the proof, didn't have the answers. They just had this positive test. And instead of them saying, okay, let's stop, flight halt, can't go forward with this fight, they were going to try to mask it, conceal it, and allow the fight to take place, knowing that there's a potential, based on the positive test, that Conor Benn could have a significant advantage going into a fight with a massively dehydrated Eubank Jr. That's what I don't like, okay? So at the same time, if you're going to feel that way about Eddie Hearn, you got to feel that way about Conor Benn. But I tend to want to give him the benefit of the doubt. But this is the problem. When you timetable, right, Conor Benn as a pro, and look at how he's performed in the ring, it comes to a point to where all of a sudden Conor Benn is destroying people, right? Makes you wonder. Now, because Eddie Hearn runs his mouth so much, okay, and Conor Benn's never had an issue, there's never been any problem with him, right? I decided to do some research, and other people did research too. Back in 2019, Conor Benn had this so-called reaction, allergic reaction, right? He didn't expound on what it was. It was something right before a fight. Anyway, he supposedly recovered from that reaction, went into the fight, won, and then he went on to say that it was an impressive performance, although he had this scary allergic reaction to something. Now, this is an image of what his face looked like, okay? Now, some are saying that some of the side effects of PEDs are these kind of reactions that could result in swelling in different parts, in different extremities, or even in the face. So when you look at this image of Conor Benn and his face, and he's looking like a goddamn potato, right? Makes you wonder if this was around a time where, Maybe he was taking some drugs. Maybe he was using PEDs. I don't know that. But it does make you kind of question what could have been going on with Connor Benn for him to have this kind of reaction. Okay, now this is what he said. I don't know. He said it was a reaction and he still went into the fight. Others are saying it's a reaction from PED use. Some people are saying he had his wisdom teeth pulled. I say he looked like a goddamn potato. I don't know what caused the potato look, but he looks like a goddamn potato. You know what I'm saying? But in these circumstances, you just have to kind of try to maintain an open mind, and at the end of the day, be grateful that Conor Benn didn't get an opportunity to go in that ring with Eubank Jr. until we know it's an even playing field and Conor Benn is innocent. However, it's just not looking good, because when it comes to these drug tests that are administered by VADA, which was a third party hired by Eubank Jr. and Benn to provide extra testing for their scheduled bout, man, you just have to say that these guys have a track record of getting it right. Okay, it's almost like when the feds come at you and they talk about these RICO cases, and they say if the feds come at you, they have a 99.9% success rate. With VADA, when your tests come back positive, there's a 99.9% success rate as far as improving that whatever the test results are, that they're accurate. Okay? So I'm just not sure what's going to happen with Ben now, but it looks like his stuff is going left. And he could be looking at a 2 to 4 year ban, could be indefinite. Who knows? But the word on the street is 2 to 4 years, which will suck for him. Okay? And then Eddie Hearn has to figure out what to do for Conor Benn. Then Eubank Jr. has to continue with his career, which he shouldn't have any problem. But it's frustrating. But that being said, Conor Benn should be making a statement sometime later this week. Not really sure what he's going to say, but my understanding, Eddie Hearn, Conor Benn has dropped on the floor, onto his knees, looking at him into the eyes, crying, tongue hanging out of his mouth, snot flying all over the place, saying he didn't cheat. Same story you're getting from his dad and all the people close to him, But I don't know. Eddie Hearn, if you listen to Eddie Hearn, he's going to say the British Boxing Board of Control sent the results. And he actually said that the Board of Control leaked those results to the press before giving Ben a chance for a hearing, very similar to what Dillian White went through back in 2019. So, and that's something Eddie Hearn keeps bringing up. He talks about the situation with White and his points win over Oscar Rivas in 2019. And he praised UCAD for how they dealt with the situation, because it ended up going in his favor, where they said that Dillian White was basically innocent. So that's something else that where Eddie Hearn needs to shut up, because what it tells me is Eddie Hearn has influence over UCAD. Eddie Hearn has some kind of influence, okay, when it comes to the British Boxing Board of Control. The fact that VADA was involved now, and they have no influence over that, and UCAD wasn't going to do anything. The British Boxing Board of Control wasn't going to do anything. But because they had this outside entity, this third party, right, who operates independent of all that, that shit went public. That's why they didn't want to go public. Because he could have pushed everything underneath the table like he did with Dillian White. Couldn't do it with VADA. And that's why the British Boxing Board of Control had to act the way they acted, and that's why Conor Benn wasn't suspended, and that's why Eddie Hearn is sitting out here frustrated as hell, because he's mad this information got leaked to the press, because he didn't want anyone to know, and they were just going to let it just go underneath the radar and Benn fight, and it is chaotic in my opinion, and sad. Now, although he keeps saying Eubank Jr. knew what he was up against, the traces were so minimal, but then he goes and said, well, I can't really talk about how much, but it was my understanding from what the doctors are saying, the scientists are saying. Eddie Hearn, you swear to God, this man had Obama on speed dial, you know what I mean? All these intelligent people are saying that it was nothing that could have, influenced Ben's performance to give him an advantage over Eubank Jr. Let's not take it to the stupid. That shit would have gave him a big advantage. But at the end of the day, Hearn feels that Ben should be afforded the same opportunity as Dillian White to kind of give his story, clear his name, because right now he's found guilty until proven innocent, and they should be finding him innocent until proven guilty. And for me, I'm going to just go ahead on record and say, Conor Benn, I want to believe you're innocent, champ. And for those out there who are Conor Benn fans, it's not looking good for him, man. And, there's a chance of contamination. My thing is this, right? If he had some kind of evidence, that's the first thing I would have done is presented it. But he doesn't. Now, we've got to be fair to him, right? It's a big fight. He wants to win. His team wants to win. It's fair to say there's a possibility that somebody gave him something and he was unaware of it, right? Things like that happen. It's fair to say that would happen. And I'll tell you something, right? I remember I stopped doing this, years ago, right? I remember I was stationed in Florida, right? On an Air Force base out there. And military guys, drink coffee. And I used to make a cup of coffee and a styrofoam cup, no lid. But I used to make it at my desk. I had hot water and I would add in the instant coffee, it had cream and sugar in it. I would make it at my desk in my cup, sip it. Sometimes you walk out, come back. And one day I left out and came back and I had a friend named Mark. Matter of fact, for those of you watching this video who may be from the UK, he was from the UK. His parents were Jamaican, but they relocated to the UK. He was from the UK, came over to the States, got dual citizenship, etc., etc. He joined the U.S. military. So me and him clicked. My family from Trinidad, him UK, Jamaican. I got family in the UK, Caribbean thing. So we became buddies, and I was his supervisor. But he used to like to play jokes and pranks, nothing wrong with that. But he did something one day where he took a thumbtack, stuck it in a styrofoam cup and left it there and turned it to where I couldn't see it. So when I came back to my desk to pick it up to drink, the shit was dripping all down on my uniform. And I was like, what the hell is this? And then I couldn't figure out what the hell was happening. Then I realized, I turned around, there was a damn thumbtack in there, he had put holes in the cup. So that didn't go over very well for him. I'll put it to you that way. You know what I'm saying? But what that told me is, if it's something I'm drinking out of, and I never left that crap around. Now, if I was a boxer, and knowing that I have a huge fight coming up, and understanding how things happen, and I'm doing these urinalysis, and I got this damn drawing blood from me and everything. Let me tell you, man, I'm not eating from no one. You know what I mean? No one. And you just have to be that way because it's just not worth it. Especially with a guy like Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn can say what he wants. You telling me you got a guy going through the biggest fight of his career, and what you just came off with Dillian White, with Gerald Miller and AJ, you know what I'm saying? You're going to sit there, man, and not have some kind of process in place or some kind of protocol, especially for those big fights where you guys are going to be having this random urinalysis testing or blood work done by VADA or UCAD. You're not going to have some more kind of extreme kind of protocol to make sure you guys are eating from a trusted source. Only that source all the way through training camp, all the way through the fight and post-fight, you know what I mean? Not multiple places where you can say, hey, it was something contaminated over here. So it just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense. But I'm not going to sit here and say I think Conor is guilty. I'll say I think right now he's having a tough time proving his innocence. And he's probably going to get suspended because there's a chance that, maybe somebody did something dirty to him. Eubank Sr. saying he knows who did it. He's suggesting that it's Eddie Hearn. And I wouldn't be surprised if Eddie Hearn did it. I kind of believe Eddie Hearn, because of the influence he has, believe Eddie Hearn, what happened is he knew Ben was juicing. It's been going on for a while. They just mistimed some things and he got popped. And it is what it is. But then again, that's just my opinion. I don't know that for a fact, but I listen to what Eubank Sr. is saying. When you think of the history with Eddie Hearn, his father, Eubank Sr. wanting the picture off the wall, they didn't want to take it off the wall. As a result, he didn't want Eubank Jr. to sign over the matchroom. They're pissed at that. They took on Connor. Now all of a sudden there's some tension and uneasiness there. Put the two boys to fight. Matter of fact, let's just go ahead and kill off Eubank Jr. in a dramatic fashion by making sure Connor's on PEDs, but let's get him off the cycle at the right time so he still gets the benefit from the PEDs, but doesn't show up in the test. And it just didn't work out that way, so Eddie Hearn had no control over that, and now he's just, hair's on fire, and he still doesn't know how to shut his mouth, which to me is just making them look even more guilty. Because they have a saying down in, matter of fact, Alabama, the South, where Deontay Wilder's from. A friend of mine, man, was from Montgomery, and he would always say, hit a dog, it will holler. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? And he was like, if someone's guilty, he was like, and you accuse them of something, he's like, when they start talking, he's like, that dog's hollering. You hit a dog, it will make some noise. He's like, so that's how I see with Eddie Hearn. I feel like, they hit a dog, it'll holler. And that's why he's been hit with something and now he's hollering. Because there's definitely some guilt over there, and I just don't know who to point fingers at, but like we said, man, as a young man, you learn this shit. You can delegate authority, but not responsibility. And the person who's running that show is responsible for everything that has happened. And that's Eddie Hearn, so I blame his ass. But that being said, let's see what's going to happen with Conor Benn. This picture here, the 2019 PEDs, hey man, people pulling things up. They're trying to, solve the case, you know what I'm saying? They're cross-examining Eddie Hearn at every opportunity, but I don't know. I'm just waiting. Hopefully we get some more information on it. But right now, Conor Benn, for you Conor Benn fans, look like he's going. It's like the Up in Smoke tour, and his ass is on fire, and very unfortunate. But that being said, man, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, people from all 7 continents. Appreciate the support. As always, I'm in the breeze.